Welcome back to Navigating the Streams. I'm Mike DeLong, and I'm here to tell you what I thought of all the movies I watched in May. I picked up the pace last month and I watched 14 movies, including a few more movies from 2001, several classics, and one from last year. As always, I'm giving you my reviews from least favorite to most favorite. Let me know what you think. First up is Die My Love, and I gave it 2.5 stars. Die My Love was a movie from last year that I wanted to see, but didn't know what to expect from it. I was left feeling incomplete and wondering what the director wanted to say. Jennifer Lawrence plays Grace, a writer who moves to the country with her boyfriend and soon becomes a mother. She experiences many struggles, including not having a car, a husband who's away for work much of the time, and a new dog she didn't want. And those are just the external struggles. She's also experiencing postpartum depression that affects much of what she does. This movie is a hard watch. The performances are fine, but the story is difficult and doesn't really say much in the end. Lawrence is crawling around the floor like a wild animal several times in the movie, and I was wondering if it was trying to say something about trying to domesticate someone who is wild, but it never comes to anything. There are several moments in the movie where you don't know if what's happening is real or fantasy, and clarity is definitely needed. Motivations are unclear, and characters are inconsistent. There are several things in Die My Love that just don't work. The topic is interesting, but I wish there was something more being said. Next up is Driving Miss Daisy, and I gave it 2.75 stars. Driving Miss Daisy is often considered one of the worst Best Picture winners of all time. I always assumed that people thought it was a bad movie. It's not a horrible movie, but it definitely didn't deserve even to be nominated, especially in 1989. Miss Daisy, an elderly Jewish woman in Georgia, played by Jessica Tandy, is getting too old to drive herself. Her son, played by Dan Aykroyd, finds her a driver against her wishes. The driver is Hoke, an elderly African-American man, played by Morgan Freeman. The film takes place over decades and shows us how Daisy and Hoke come to respect and care for each other. So, I thought the performances were just fine. Tandy won Best Actress, and Freeman and Aykroyd were both nominated as well. Tandy was probably the best of the three, but I'm not sure she's the best of the year. I've only seen one of the other performances nominated and haven't even heard of the others. The movie also won Best Adapted Screenplay, which I have a huge problem with. Hoke has some good moments where he's able to stand up for himself in small ways, but he's so subservient and folksy, which I just find annoying, that it's hard to watch. This is supposed to be a movie about race, but it really doesn't say much about racial relations at all. And that's probably the most egregious thing about the movie. Other than that, nothing reaches above, it's fine. Driving Miss Daisy is not representative of the best 1989 has to offer. The other 4 nominees are much better, and I can think of about a dozen movies that deserve to be nominated over this one. I've got Amores Perros up next, and I gave it 3 stars. Amores Perros is the first feature of Alejandro G. Iñárritu, and it has a lot of the style that he's known for. But the stories just don't work together as much as I wish that they would. This is a 2.5-hour movie that has 3 main storylines, but they don't weave together to form a complete picture. The first 75 minutes or so focus on Octavio, who's in love with his brother's wife and works on a plan to make money to escape his brother's abuse with her by fighting his dog. This is interspersed with scenes of a man and his family, but he's clearly cheating on his wife. And there are also scenes of a homeless man and a bunch of dogs. The next story is about the cheating husband, but focuses on his model girlfriend and her struggles after a major car accident. This is only about 30 minutes long, and while it does intersect with the original story, it doesn't have much to say. In the final story, we find out that the homeless man is an assassin whose latest job doesn't go as expected. It's pretty clear my problems lie with how the different stories interact, or lack thereof. Iñárritu will do a better job of this with Babel, but that movie has its own flaws. I wish the chapters in the story were interwoven into each other instead of backtracking through time. I don't feel that any of them have a satisfying ending. The 3 stars I'm giving it are really for the big swing taken to make this movie. I feel it almost makes it, but not quite. I even think a re-edit with the exact footage used could improve the overall experience of this movie. If you love Alejandro G. Iñárritu and want to see him develop his filmmaking style, by all means watch this movie. It may work better for you than it did for me. But if not, I would say that this one is pretty skippable. 28 years later, The Bone Temple comes next, and I gave it 3.25 stars. After waiting nearly 2 decades between movies 2 and 3 of the series, the fourth, 28 years later, The Bone Temple, was only a 6-month wait. While it picks up right where the third movie left off, I didn't really enjoy it as much as I hoped. Young Spike was saved by Jimmy Crystal's gang at the end of the third movie and is unwillingly recruited. Jimmy is a man of faith that says the devil tells him what to do, and he relays that to the gang. They terrorize people they come across in the worst ways. Meanwhile, Dr. Kelson has found a way to connect with the alpha zombie he named Samson and continues to work on a cure. Eventually, the gang of Jimmys and Dr. Kelson cross paths and faith and science collide. I really like the Dr. Kelson storyline of the movie. I think it's a great progression from the last. I would have really loved the full movie to be about this. The Jimmy Crystal half of the movie doesn't really work for me. Spike is half on the sideline and half our eyes into the gang, and it doesn't fit together. It's less interesting because it plays into the tropes of people were monsters all along that entire movies are dedicated to, but less than half is here. I do like the conflict between science and faith playing a part in the story, but I don't think it fully works here. They could have done more. I also wish the information of scientific discovery was passed on so that the story of the series of movies could progress. I'm not sure that will be the case. For me, The Bone Temple just didn't work as well as last year's 28 Years Later did. I hope we don't have to wait too long for another installment, and that they can continue with the ideas set up in the last 2 movies. I've got Mulholland Drive next, and I gave it 3.5 stars. I saw Mulholland Drive for the first time when it came out on DVD at my parents' house before a Sunday dinner, so not the most ideal conditions. I didn't like it that much, but so many people love it that I decided to give it another try. Naomi Watts plays Betty, a newcomer to LA, hoping to become a great actress. She's staying at her aunt's apartment where she finds a woman with amnesia from an accident the night before. They investigate who this woman is with a lot of twists and turns. Then there's the second half, which either confuses the whole thing up or clarifies everything, depending on how literal you're watching the movie. Something I wish people would talk more about is how this movie is a puzzle, and you need to put together reality and fantasy as you go. Sometimes even letting go what you thought was reality when you realize it was fantasy. That may spoil the experience for some, but it would have helped me. Even the second viewing wasn't the best. I can say I appreciate the movie better than I did the first time, but still had problems. At first, I hated Naomi Watts' performance, but when she goes to her audition and becomes someone else completely in the second half, it definitely improves, and the acting style is justified. David Lynch received a nomination for Best Director at the Oscars, and it's definitely worthy. It would have made a better winner than Ron Howard for A Beautiful Mind. I'm glad this wasn't a TV show like it was meant to be. It would have been bloated and even more confusing. It would not have made good television for more than 8 episodes. This is a movie I need to give a third shot to in a few years. I think I'll really get it the next time. The Great Ziegfeld is next, and I gave it 3.5 stars. The Great Ziegfeld is a movie spectacular. It was probably astonishing when it came out in 1936, but now it feels a bit bloated. William Powell plays Florenz Ziegfeld Jr., a legendary Broadway producer known for Ziegfeld's Follies and Showboat, among others. The movie follows him from obscurity at the 1983 Chicago World's Fair through his successes and failures until his death in 1932. First, William Powell is great. His performance is one of the best, though he was nominated for My Man Godfrey that year. He's a great classic actor that doesn't get mentioned with the likes of Clark Gable, but he should. It's always great to see Myrna Loy in a movie, but she doesn't have much to do playing his last wife and coming in more than 2 hours into the movie. Louise Rayner plays his first wife and actually won Best Actress, but I wasn't impressed. I thought she might be a holdover from the silent era, but in fact she was a German stage actress, which might explain her acting style. I know acting was a little different then, but she doesn't feel natural, and I'm not sure I would have given her my vote this year, let alone 2 years in a row. The story is interspersed with huge production numbers standing in for Ziegfeld shows, many of which are amazing, especially A Pretty Girl is Like a Melody, which cost over $200,000 and appears right before intermission. Yes, there's an intermission. Anyway, this number practically guarantees the win for Best Dance Direction. The story whitewashes some of his life due to the Hays Code. He had multiple affairs, but neither his widow nor the Hays Code would allow them to show that. The story is also very repetitive. He steals a girl from a fellow producer, makes her a star, goes into debt, weasels his way out of it. After a while, it stops being engrossing. Even the dance numbers become less interesting as the movie goes on. There was probably an hour that could have been cut from this movie to make it a little tighter. That being said, I did enjoy rewatching this movie, and I wasn't sure that I would. If you love musical biopics and haven't seen The Great Ziegfeld, you'll probably enjoy this movie. It comes with a recommendation, just make sure you have enough time for it. Monsters Ball is next, and I also gave it 3.5 stars. I haven't seen Monsters Ball since the early 2000s. I wanted to rewatch it and compare it to the other 2001 movies that I recently watched. Billy Bob Thornton plays Hank, a racist Louisiana prison guard in charge of death row. Halle Berry plays Letitia, a woman whose life is falling apart and happens to be the wife of the last man executed by Hank. Their paths cross accidentally, then purposely, then become completely intertwined. The acting in this movie is great. I love Halle Berry, she deserved the Oscar, and Thornton, as well as Heath Ledger and Peter Boyle, who play Hank's son and father respectively. The story is interesting, but towards the end, it gets quite uncomfortable. Hank calls Letitia his girlfriend, though they're really not in a relationship. Barry's facial expressions toward the end of the movie are so hard to watch. She's not sure what to do, but she seems to leave her body and succumb to what's happening to her. Hank's change is also strange. He calls a coworker the N-word, and by the end of it, he's believing he's in a full-blown relationship with a black woman. Here's my take on the transition. Hank was raised by racist parents and ends up having a son that's totally the opposite, which Hank may be jealous of. When his son dies, Hank realizes he can live like his son and not like his dad, and makes changes in his life. But that's just my interpretation. I'm not sure that the movie says any of that, but it makes the story work better. Does that make any sense to you? Rewatch this movie and let me know if it holds up. Please like this video and subscribe for future reviews and to find out what's coming to a streaming service near you. Next, I watched The Cell from 1999 and I gave it 4 stars. I am so happy to say that The Cell holds up much better than The Fall did. Jennifer Lopez plays Catherine, a child psychologist that uses a machine to put her consciousness into the mind of her patient. Meanwhile, Vince Vaughn plays Peter, an FBI agent on the hunt of a serial killer. There's a break in the case and they find the serial killer, but he's in a comatose state. The FBI brings the man to Catherine to see if she could find out where the latest victim is being kept. This movie is beautiful. The CGI totally holds up, which is the reason to watch it. Tarsem Singh directed this movie as well as The Fall, and you can truly tell. His vision is amazing, and it's a shame that he hasn't done more. I love the overall story, but the script is pretty bad. The lines are just laughable sometimes. I never liked Lopez and joked that it was her best movie because she didn't have to say much. She's not great, but neither is anyone else except Vincent D'Onofrio, who plays the serial killer. And it's probably mostly because of the script. The Cell is a crazy ride through the mind of a madman and is totally worth the revisit. Next up is Marathon Man, and I gave it 4.25 stars. There's just something about 70s conspiracy movies that hit me the right way, and Marathon Man fits into that category perfectly. Dustin Hoffman is Babe, a grad student and marathon runner. He meets a girl in the library and they start dating. Meanwhile, couriers are trafficking diamonds and one of them, the brother of the Nazi kingpin baddie of the movie, dies. Now, the Nazi, living in secret in Uruguay, comes to the US to get the rest of his stash. What does that have to do with Dustin Hoffman? Well, one of the couriers is his brother. So the plot of this movie sounds a little convoluted, and I won't disagree with you there. But the way that it's put together works. You're in a state of confusion for the first 30 minutes or so, and all the pieces start to fall into place. Hoffman is good, but probably a little too old for the part. Laurence Olivier plays the Nazi, and he's great, of course. The rest of the supporting cast is good too. The movie looks great with its gritty 70s New York feel. There's a scene that totally doesn't need to be in the movie. It's not important to the plot and seems out of character for the Nazi, but I love it. Olivier's acting is wonderful in it. His character is so uncomfortable. I wouldn't touch it. If Marathon Man doesn't work for you, I won't blame you. But if you love 70s conspiracies and you haven't seen this one, definitely make time for it. I've got CODA next, and I gave it 4.25 stars. CODA gets a bad rap. It might not be anybody's favorite movie of 2021, but it's a good movie and hits me right in the feels. Ruby is the only hearing member of her family. She's had to translate for her family from a very young age and even works with her dad and brother on their fishing boat. Now, as a high school senior, she's doing what she wants, which is joining the choir and auditioning for college, which changes everyone's life. The main performances in this movie are really good. I love that Troy Kotsur won Best Supporting Actor for playing the dad. Marlee Matlin, who's the mom, is always great. Amelia Jones, who plays Ruby, and Daniel Durant, who plays Leo, her brother, are also good. I really like this story too. I feel it's a different take on a coming-of-age story. It's funny, but it also has some heartfelt moments too. Every family member goes through changes. This may sound weird coming from a guy that doesn't particularly like musicals, but I love music moments in movies. The moment near the end really touches me, how she connects the thing that she loves with the people she loves. It's wonderful. People may hate on this movie because they think it's not Best Picture material, but it's good. Give it another shot. The Sound of Music is next, and I gave it 4.5 stars. I rewatched The Sound of Music with my daughter, and we both really enjoyed it. Maria, a nun in 1930s Austria, played by Julie Andrews, doesn't fit in well with the other nuns. They assign her to be a governess of 7 children. She connects with them, unlike the previous governesses, and also attracts the father of the kids. When the Nazis take over, the family tries to escape. I was surprised at how much I liked this movie. As we all know, I'm not a big musical guy, but this one works better than most. Nearly all the songs are great. I wasn't a big fan of Maria. It could have been a short scene instead of a song, and it's definitely inappropriate in the reprise. I Have Confidence was a little better, but not up to the level of the rest of the songs. Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer, who played the patriarch, are both very good. The children aren't bad either. The story is good, as well as the costumes and production design. If you haven't seen The Sound of Music, or haven't seen it in a while, it would definitely be worth your time. Maybe you have a child you could introduce it to. Next comes the Royal Tenenbaums, and I gave it 4.5 stars. I'm so relieved that the Royal Tenenbaums held up for me. With the last several Wes Anderson movies being less than what I expect from him, I'm happy to say that this one is still great. Gene Hackman plays Royal Tenenbaum, the father of an eccentric family that has disowned him. He lies his way back into the family, but improves their lives in the end. This movie just has something that Anderson's movies have been lacking lately. I don't know if it's a backstory on the characters that we care about 20 minutes of narration at the start of the movie that I loved, or just a situation that's easy to connect to, a family in turmoil, or something else completely. The production design and characters have all the Anderson signature quirkiness that you come to expect, maybe at its peak. I'm glad I revisited this movie 25 years later. It's definitely in my top 2 Wes Anderson movies of all time, if not number 1. The last movie in the 4.5 star club this month is Rififi. Rififi is a classic French crime movie that everyone should see. It feels familiar because every single heist movie since has borrowed from it, but it still stands on its own. Tony has just gotten out of prison, and his nephew Joe proposes a heist to him. Tony says no, but has an even bigger idea. Tony is also on the lookout for his ex, who happens to be involved with another criminal, Louis. Will Tony and his gang be able to pull the heist off and get away with it, or will something stop them? Nearly all the heist tropes are here, because this movie created them or improved upon them. The gang cases the jewelry store, they work out how to beat security, and then comes the actual heist. The entire robbery takes over 30 minutes, and there's no dialogue, no music, and very little background noise. My kids got out of bed and watched this part with us, and barely said anything. They were riveted. The tension is high, and it just works. The acting is fine, nothing that will win awards, but few heist movies do. The settings are good, especially the house that plays a big part in the ending. This is a wonderful film, and you should really make the time to check this one out. And finally, we have Casablanca, and I gave it 5 stars. Casablanca is a wonderful film, and I will never tire of watching it. Rick, played by Humphrey Bogart, runs a bar in Casablanca, an area controlled by Vichy France during World War II. When the woman who broke his heart with no explanation walks into his bar with her resistance leader husband, the walls he's built around him start to fall. What is there to say about Casablanca? It's amazing. The cast is all great. No notes. I can't believe that it didn't win any acting prizes. Ingrid Bergman wasn't even nominated for this movie, but was for a different one, Criminal. The script is wonderful, and I'm not just talking about the lines that everyone knows. There are quick lines throughout the movie that just made me smile. I'm glad it won Best Screenplay. The lighting is just great. Every shot looks so good. Casablanca is a movie that gets better with every rewatch. If you have never seen it, watch it immediately. If you have, check it out again. That'll do it for this review video. How do these 2001 movies compare to the Best Picture nominees? What do you think of the Best Picture winners that I watched last month? Let me know in the comments. If reviews aren't your thing, come back and check out what's coming to streaming services in July. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.